Number 5, Dr. No. How did this film get rated so high? This film came out in 1962, for crying out loud. I remember first seeing it as a kid in 1983 after Octopussy came out. It was on like ABC because they would often rerun the Bond films because I think they knew people were watching them. And as a kid, it was like, that was really, I don't think we even had a VCR back then. So that was really the only way I could ever see a Bond film, was that way. And I still remember it being, as a kid, being impressed by the film, even though it was an older film. And a lot of it holds up really well. Now, this was the first introduction we've had of Bond, besides that 1956 Casino Royale, which I talked about, that I really felt like they were really finding the character, but the character had already appeared in so many books at the time. Sean Connery was just wasn't really going through the motions, because Sean Connery, of course, brought this character to life. This is an earlier Bond who was a detective Bond. This was not a Bond who was dependent on gadgets. I think I once said earlier when I reviewed From Russia with Love that was Q's first film, but technically there is a character, I think his name is Major Bonnevoy, who actually is supposed to be Q in this thing. I think that's actually his real name. And he just gives Bond a gun, and it just like replaces his gun and something like that. That's pretty much it as far as the gadgets are concerned. This is a film where Bond like takes a hair out of his head and then licks it and then puts it on a closet to see if somebody is trying to get into his closet while he's away from his hotel room. He's a very practical type of Bond. And like I said, I really like the detective Bond. Like, he'll track down a lead and he'll realize like, hey, something's up with this, and then he'll go back to it, and then he'll do some like tricky trick to try and get in a little closer. I like it when Bond does that. I feel like Bond is detective, and he's also kind of, he's kind of that guy that goes undercover. And here's the thing, there's by the time we get to the actual thing where we meet our main mega villain, there's a lot leading up to that. Like, we see like, okay, I think I've mentioned this before, but a lot of Bond films are very complex with their plot lines, and oftentimes the mega villain is trying to keep of course he's trying to keep his cover. He doesn't want people knowing about his big scheme. But there's holes in his plan. Like, there's something that he goes through. Like, he has to kill somebody in order to keep somebody quiet. But the fact that he tries to kill somebody gets Bond to notice this in the first place. And that's what actually happens at the beginning of this thing. Like I said, I've had to look up a lot of these plot lines on Wikipedia to figure out, okay, what is actually going on in this film. By the time we meet the main villain, it kind of makes sense what he's trying to do. And he's actually trying to sabotage the space program. I didn't really know that. I was kind of went like, oh, that's what he's trying to do with this private island kind of thing? It's like, well, I guess that makes sense. We were in the space race. Cold War was going on. Yeah, and we also get introduced to Spectre.